Where are my shopping servants? Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Business Blaze. I am your host Simon, and in the video today we're looking at people were really shocked by the first supermarkets. This one was an idea from me. If you've got an idea for a Business Blaze video though, leave it in the comments below, upvote the ones you like and we'll see what we can do. I came up with this idea and it really, maybe YouTube can help me out. There was, when I was at university I studied law and there was this amazing case, it was a UK case, and this was like used in law school as an example. But basically there's some judge's opinion and he's just writing how amazed he is at the idea of supermarkets. Like, you walk in and you take the stuff off the shelves yourself and you take it to the counter. If anyone could follow up and tell me what that is, that would be amazing. But I just wanted to see if people were actually surprised, like in the real world, and kind of how that all went down, or whether he was just some super privileged judge who had never been to a shop before. Steve has written this. We're gonna go through it together. We take them for granted now, but there was a time when supermarkets were a revolution for shoppers. The rise of this retail phenomenon, it was meteoric, but not without its troubles. So how did it all get started? Well, it began in 1916 when a grocery store with a strange name opened its doors to the public. Piggly Wiggly, that's right, it's a pretty strange name, Steve, was located in Memphis, Tennessee, the brainchild of enterprising grocer Clarence Saunders. Customers were shocked by what they saw on entering the premises. Why? Well, for starters, they had to get their own shopping. This is what the judge was talking about in that case. He was like, you gotta pick the items off the shelf yourself. Before the introduction of supermarkets, shops were staffed by large numbers of clerks. They would fetch everything for the customer. In the case of things like flour, they'd have to measure it out for you. Clerks offered an important personal service, but were also seen as an extra cost. Saunders wanted to ditch the clerks and streamline the operation, with his store being strictly self-service. It makes a ton of sense, like self-service is way cheaper. I feel like almost all stores, there was a candy store when I was a kid where you could go in and they'd have to take this sounds like I'm 90, but it was specifically made to be like an old candy store where you'd go in and the person behind the counter would have all of the candies, like, we'd call them sweets. I'm not sure why I'm calling them candies. I think that's what American calls them. All the sweets up on the shelf. And he'd be like, I want like 100 grams of cola bottles. And they'd take it down, they'd weigh it out, and they'd give it to you. But I think that was purposefully like an old-timey thing. Nowadays, you just take it, you'd weigh it, and then you'd stick a label on it and take it to the counter and pay for it. Instead of a helping hand from a clerk, the customer was handed a wooden basket so they could choose their own goods. Staff at these new stores had to explain that they weren't there to fetch and measure anymore. I feel like you'd walk in and some guy would hand you a basket and be like, no, man, I don't work here. I'm just here to buy things. You gonna help me? Where are my shopping servants? It does sound pretty good though, go get me these things. The move empowered customers, and branding was relied upon more greatly to attract buyers of certain products. Oh yeah, I guess because before you'd just be like, I want flour. And they'd be like, okay, I'll get you flour. And now it's like there are 18 different types of flour. Everything a housewife or bachelor might want was under one roof. We could just say everyone, Steve. You had a similar setup with general stores, but Piggly Wiggly took it to a whole other level. Before supermarkets, you'd visit different shops for different things. Meat and potatoes, for example, you'd go to a butcher's for your meat and a grocer for your potatoes, and so on. Shopping trips became a lot less elaborate. I feel and I worry about branding myself as a massive hipster now, because I'm really not. I live in a city and the nearby supermarket's not very good, so I tend to go to the butcher and like the little grocery store because it's nearby and it's more expensive, but then I waste less food, because if I go to the supermarket and I buy like a giant thing of chicken or whatever, some of that stuff's gonna go off. So I feel like if I just go to the butcher and point out exactly what I want for that one meal, it does save me money and it means I waste less food. But I don't want to appear like a hipster. Time magazine describes Saunders' contribution to shopping history for the 100th anniversary of Piggly Wiggly. This is a terrible name. Saunders redesigned food shopping, methodically arranging things in order to appeal to how customers shopped. For example, putting candy and other impulse items at the checkout. Children in supermarkets drastically changed the game of branding, with designers able to place food at kids' eye levels, making it easy for them to woo their parents into various purchases. I remember being a kid and be like, I want the sweets. No, put them back. That was it. Woo my parents into purchasing me something. His innovations may have aggravated mum and dad, but they ushered in a modern shopping experience. 9 branches of Piggly Wiggly opened in Memphis within 12 months. Good lord, that is a successful business. Saunders became a trend that would change the world. For instance, when the supermarket concept was rolled out across Europe, Italians were reportedly amazed that pet food was being sold there. Why were they amazed? Because they'd never seen this product before. Supermarkets introduced cat and dog food to the Italian public. Oh what, they just fed their pets like regular food? I guess like scraps and stuff, that makes sense. Like I'd feed my pets scraps if I had it left over, save on the dog food and cat food. Sanders is seen as a person who created the supermarket idea with features such as checkouts and so on. However, other individuals such as Michael J. Cullen, who worked for the Kroger Grocery and Baking Co., are credited with making the supermarket what it is today. Yeah, innovation doesn't happen in a vacuum. In 1930, he surprised his peers by investing his own life savings in a giant all-purpose shop on Long Island away from the hustle and bustle. This was during the Great Depression, when it was thought that people wouldn't want to spend. People need to buy basic groceries, though. Cullen believed that by buying and then selling goods at much lower prices, he could capture a market that others weren't thinking of. And he was right. Customers responded in droves to the King Cullen grocery store, and he opened 7 such shops in 2 years. I love it how I always read these and I'm like, yeah, duh. It was the Great Depression. People wanted cheap. What a price. But then you realize, oh yeah, it's just 2020 hindsight. I'm sure this is like a really big innovation in the day. Although I feel I'm fairly sure we were familiar with supply and demand. Adam Smith was a long time gone by the time this came out. The supermarket evolved into the superstore. The Depression played an unexpected role in the rise of supermarkets as poor shoppers clearly needed cheap supplies that were easy to find. The outbreak of World War II meant that owners of single shops like butchers had to go and fight, leaving their rivals to fill the gaps. There was opposition to supermarkets at first, not from shop owners, but from the press. The stores were branded as down market and a passing fad. Once it became clear that the big beasts such as Piggly Wiggly were here to stay, the media view mellowed. The supermarket was eventually accepted in the United States as part of the American way. What is the American way? A store in Maryland, is the American way a thing? It's in like quotes here, like American way. A store in Maryland emphasized this by receiving a royal visit from Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip during a US trip in 1957. The Queen was reportedly impressed that you could sit your child in the trolley as you shop. Yeah, you always forget. The Queen's really old. As well as influencing the way we shop, it's also believed. Have you ever seen that picture of the Queen dancing with all the US presidents that she's been alive for? It's super long. I'll put it up on the screen now and I'll scroll through it. It's crazy, right? As well as influencing the way we shop, it's also believed that the supermarket shaped our society as a whole. In 2011, the Earth Eats blog wrote, alright, Steve, that sounds like a super reliable resource. I don't know, maybe Earth Eats is big, but like a random blog from 2011? Alright, here we go. Having various kinds of food available under a single roof increased the nation's reliance on cars because customers shopping for their families would rarely walk away with grocery loads they could carry. Some economists even argued that the time-saving benefits of the supermarket contributed to mid-century women's liberation movements by significantly reducing the amount of time that most women had to devote to food shopping. Alright. Seems pretty logical. So what happened to the two men who launched this global phenomenon? Clarence Sanders believed the future lay in automation. He launched Key-Doozle. What's that with a weird... I mean, I feel like we have weird names for like apps and stuff today and like internet companies, but Piggly Wiggly? Key-Doozle? This was a shop designed like a giant vending machine that you could operate with a key. This didn't take off, with only 3 stores being built. No surprise, this seems like a crazy idea. He passed away in 1953. Michael J. Cullen, meanwhile, never lived to see his empire expand. He died following an appendix operation in 1936, aged just 52. Well, that's a shame. Revolutionized the world, and then he died really quickly. Anyway, some bonus facts, a couple of bonus facts here from Steve. Let's get into it. Where did the name Piggly Wiggly come from itself? I don't know, crazy fever dreams maybe? Maybe it was on drugs? Sanders kept an air of mystery around the brand. Drugs. The company itself describes an occasion where Sanders spotted some piglets trying to squeeze under a fence. He didn't confirm this, preferring to let people guess why his shop was called that. I guess, and it died with him. Who cares? Another bonus fact. Tesco has its fair share of enemies. In 2008, an ex-tax inspector demanded $1 million, threatening to bomb Tesco's and poison food if they didn't submit. What the hell? I don't even remember this. 7 years earlier, parcel bombs were sent to customers by a blackmailer who wanted £5 million. They were both caught and placed behind bars. Good. Sounds like a terrible idea. Anyway, then there's another page, but I'm sorry to disappoint. It's just sources. This has been Business Place. This was people being shocked by the first few marks. Like I said at the top, if anyone can find that quote from that judge, that opinion, I will be forever grateful, because I was looking around on Google so hard and I just couldn't find it. If you got other suggestions for videos as well, leave them in the comments below. Like I said, this has been Business Place. I'm your host, Simon. Oh, smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, hit the bell. I've been doing this a while. I feel like I should know to say that. Do all of that good stuff, and I'll see you next time.